ice. Some bust but that's ice. What? Ай, на бек is price. Стоп. А на 5 считает протокол пиздат. Потест там не так, что пойдет тут мафлок. Ям котлету, баба, ты поболен, как котлет. Coming in the dark, coming in the rest, я буду вас coming in the ай, я тупо, но мне заплатят. Выебал эту тачи. Кадила, тяну. Попытайся додать так моей хаты, братова. А здесь самена вещь, заряжайте автомат. Залетаю в пол, сука, будто молоко. Я ебу ее тактика, как ебу судьбу. Я ебу ее, как будто рэп.
Okay, so let's get started on this coat because we're not doing anything with this coat besides cutting it up. So the first thing we want to do is get the lining out. This has an attached lining, so of course it's old, so the zipper's a little stuck. That's okay. Uh-oh, is it messing up my nails? Wait a minute. Okay, we back. All right, let's get this lining out of this coat. Finally got the zipper off, got the lining out, and we're just going to push that to the side because we're probably never going to use that, but you never know, so don't throw things away. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at the sleeves because I know I'm going to be doing a jean jacket with leather sleeves, and I like this little detail that it has on it with the little button and the little tie thing around the wrist. That's kind of cute. The sleeve looks in good condition on both sides. I did check it. And next thing I want to do is get the lining out because I want to see how this sleeve is attached to this coat. So let's open up the lining. And I'm being very careful because you don't want to accidentally cut the leather. You don't want little holes and stuff like that in it. You want to make sure that everything is in good shape. And again, with a leather coat like this, I'm going to be doing a whole lot of stuff. Today, I'm only going to be doing the jacket, and I'm also going to be doing a pencil skirt, which is going to have leather strips going up the side of the skirt. I think it's going to be really cute. Now, stay tuned. So the first thing I want to do is grab my jean coat. And the reason I want to do that is because I need the sleeve. I need to make sure that when I'm cutting the sleeve on the leather coat, that it matches the sleeve on the jacket. So go ahead and detach your sleeves from your jacket. Be very careful because this is going to be your pattern piece. So you want to make sure that you have the right size. You don't want the sleeve to be too big or too small. Now that I got the sleeve off, I can go ahead and attach the leather sleeve once I have it cut out. So you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Go ahead and get these sleeves off of your coat, your jacket. Now that I have them off, I have two pattern pieces that I'm going to need. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at my jacket because this jacket is a little big. So I'm going to tailor it and I'm going to make it so that it's a slimmer fitting coat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut not on the actual seam, but I'm going to cut behind the seam and on the seam. That way I can make a nice new seam and it'll have the slimmer tailor fit that I need. Now this one has like a little thing at the bottom, but we're just going to cut that off because I'm not going to be using it. You can see I've already cut that. Now I'm cutting off the old seam. You know how those denim seams are on your jacket, so you want to cut that off because again we're making it slimmer. And then I'm going to do the other side the same way. I'm just flipping it around so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going inside about half an inch and I'm cutting that off. Now I have two new pieces. I'm going to pin those together because I'm going to take that over to my sewing machine and I'm going to pin it. I'm going to sew it together. Now that I'll have a new smaller jacket, it's going to fit much better than this one is because this one is kind of big and broad. Now, I already measured what I needed my jacket to fit like when it's on me, so make sure you measure it. But, of course, like I always do, I'm going to try it on just to make sure that the armhole's not too big, not too small. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you can see I'm just cutting right in front of the seam all the way down to the end of the jacket. And I'm going to do the same thing to the inside. I'm going to cut off about a half an inch. Because remember, when you're cutting, you want to make sure that you still leave seam allowance when you're sewing. 'Cause And I'm going to go ahead and pin it. Now that I have both sides done, pin it down. And y'all know what that means. Pinning equals sewing. That means we're going to be going to the machine pretty soon. And of course, I had to put the jacket on my body double just to make sure that it's fitting the way I want it to fit. I want to make sure that those ends are lining up, that the pockets are still usable. Because sometimes when you're cutting up stuff and you're changing things up, sometimes you lose a pocket or something like that. But my pockets are still usable. They look like they're lining up. I'm looking at where I'm going to have to attach that sleeve. And it looks good, y'all. I'm impressed right now. Okay, let's get these sleeves on this jacket. Now, I'm just showing you a closer view on how to cut the sleeve. Use your sleeve as a pattern. You see I have it laid down. I'm just using my cutter, my rotary cutter, and to cut the sleeve off. Now I know that this sleeve is the same shape as the sleeve I need to add to my new jean jacket. I'm opening it up just to make sure that everything is good. And you can see that it's a perfect cut. Now I just have to add it. So I'm at the sewing machine, as you can see, and I'm sewing down the sides because that's the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your sides are cut before you can even add any sleeves. So we're just sewing. Y'all know I love when I'm at my sewing machine. Everything is just so nice. And of course, I'm jamming to my beats, y'all. Y'all can't hear it because I don't want any copyright infringement, but I am jamming. Have your music on when you're jamming out. Now I'm just going to use my body double so that I can make sure that I pin my sleeves in really nice. Now that I have it on, go ahead and grab those sleeves. See, this is my raw edge. I'm going to go back to my serger and serge that off because we want good finished product. And you can see I've already serged that off. Now let's get our sleeves and add them to our jacket. First thing we're going to do is put the sleeve inside of your jacket, right sides facing. I always start at the bottom where the seams connect and make sure that they're meet because you don't want to lift your arm up and you got crooked sleeves. Crooked seams. You definitely don't want that. We don't want no crooked seams. So I start at the bottom and then I go to the top, stretch it out a little bit, and add a pin. Y'all know what this pinning mean? Pinning mean we about to go to the sewing machine, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm getting more excited as I'm getting closer to the end of this jacket, y'all. Go ahead and pin your sleeves down. You want to make sure you do that for both sides. You can also use clips. Now I have pins because this leather is really soft, so I was able to get the pin through it. But if you have a leather that's not as soft, go ahead and get you some clips and you can just clip them on. I really don't have any clips, y'all. I said I was going to get some because I work with a lot of stuff like mohair and I've been working with sequins lately, so I do need to get some clips. I just don't have any. Now you can see what it's going to look like once this is finished. And leaving that detail on the bottom of that sleeve was perfect. I'm so glad I decided to do that. Do the same thing for the other side. Now that you got your sleeves attached to your jean jacket, we got to worry about the hems at the bottom of our wrists. So I'm going to fold that under about 1/4 of an inch. Make sure you cut all that lining material off. And I'm going to use a previous hem line that's already there. That way when you're going through your sewing machine, it won't create new holes and it'll be easier for your machine to go through the leather. Again, just go under about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to fold it right under and give it a nice hem. Alright, I'm at the machine and it's time to sew the sleeves on to our jacket. Make sure you take your time and make sure that you have the proper needle in your machine. I have a machine that is used for leather and heavy denim. So you want to make sure that you have the proper needle in your machine. And go ahead and sew down your sleeves. And again, take your time. This video is sped up a little bit, but take your time and make sure that you're not missing any stitches and that the machine is catching both your leather and your denim. Look how good that looks. And now I'm going to go on to the next side and do the same thing. Make sure you're removing those pins if you're using pins. Again, I don't have clips, so I have pins in my stuff. So I'm removing my pins. You don't want to sew over your pin. That can break your needle and it's bad. Next thing I'm doing, like I told you earlier, is I'm just going under with the hem for my wrist. Fold that under about 1/4 inch and give it a nice sewing all the way across. And I'm sewing on the inside just so I can see it better and that you can see it better as well. But it doesn't really matter. But you can see I'm just going about 1/4 inch and I'm going all the way around the jacket. Looks perfect. I love it, y'all. Do y'all see this jacket? This is a brand new look, y'all. I cannot wait to put this on and rock it outside. You're going to see how I'm going to rock it. I'm definitely going to put on some cute jeans or something with it. Okay, on to the next. Let's make this skirt. Now, I found 2 panels that are exactly alike on both sides, and I'm going to cut them out. Use your scissors, because I want to make sure I get those squares perfect. Go down and cut off that belt loop. And the reason I'm using these panels is because I already know that they're the same size because the jacket is very symmetrical. Now that I have that panel, I'm just going to find the other matching panel and cut that one off as well. Take your time when you're cutting because, again, you don't want to mess up. This is real leather. Now that I have the 2 panels and I also have some black stretchy material that I'm going to be using for my pencil skirt, you want to make sure that you have your measurements of your skirt. Or you can use a skirt that you already have, like I'm using here, as a pattern. Go ahead and lay out your skirt. And then you're going to find your scissors. I'm going to use my rotary cutter. Well, I'm going to be using my scissors at first. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out this skirt. Nope. One of my use rotary cutters. There we go. So we're going to cut out this skirt because this skirt is now your pattern. Now, one thing you got to realize is this skirt is already together. So we have to add in the additional sizes for the leather strips that you're using on the side. You're going to see why this is important at the end of this video because I did cut off some additional size, but I didn't cut enough off. So when I put my skirt on, it was a little big, and then I had to make an additional seam down the back. Well, actually, I'm going to make it down the front. Now that you have your front and your back sides cut, when I tell you about measurements, this is what I mean. If your skirt is normally about a 32, so you're going to be cutting about 16¼ inches on both sides so that it fits perfectly. Because we're adding 2 strips to the sides of your skirt, if those strips measure an inch or 2 inches, you got to make sure that you add those in to your measurements. That is what I forgot to do. And later on, I had to cut a seam and make another seam down the front. So make sure that when you're doing your measurements, you want to make sure that you've added that additional strips that you're adding into your pants, your skirt, or whatever it is you're making. So now that you have that together, you want to go ahead and grab the front side and the back sides. Well, I'm actually just cutting it because my leather strips were a little longer. So I'm just cutting it off so that it's the same length. Now that I have the strips the same length as my front and my back, I'm going to make them right sides facing. And we're going to go ahead and pin those down because we're going to be going to the sewing machine. You all know pinning means sewing. Now that we have that first leather strip pinned down, you're going to do the same thing for the other side. Pin it down right sides facing to the other side of your skirt. And y'all know what that means. That means now that we have them both pinned down to the front side of the skirt, we're going to be going over to the sewing machine right fast. Now we're at the sewing machine, and again, you want to take your time. Of course, this video has been sped up for time's sake, but take your time and make sure that you're getting your leather sewn down to your material. Gonna do the same thing for both sides. Okay, I gotta apologize because I didn't know the video footage was so bad. But you want to do the same thing you did with the front of the skirt with your back of the skirt. You're going to attach them right sides facing to the leather strips. And then you're going to go over to your sewing machine and sew down each one of the sides. I am so sorry that you didn't really see what was going on in this video. Once you have your side sewn down to your skirt, you want to go ahead and put it on and try it on. This is your time where you're making your tweaks and stuff. Can you see that seam I have in the front? That's when I realized the skirt was way too big, so I had to put another seam down the front. And it's okay. I like it. It's still going to work out for what I needed to do. Okay, on to the next thing. What you want to do is you got to make sure that you know how long you want your skirt. For me, I got to make sure it's like at least to the top of my knee. So I put the skirt on, lean down, and mark it. That's how I do it. That way I know I get a good measurement. So now that I have my measurements, I'm going to go on over to my table and I'm going to cut my skirt so it's the length that I need it to be. So go ahead and grab your ruler, grab your rotary cutter or your scissors, and go ahead and cut off that extra that you don't need. That's what you see me doing here. And don't forget to add your seam allowance for your hem. Now, I know exactly where I want my skirt to stop, but I got to add some seam allowance at the bottom of that so that I can sew it with a hem. Now that I have it, I'm going to go ahead and fold it under, and I'm going to grab my pins. Y'all know what that means. Pinning means sewing, and then that way I can sew my hem down to the bottom. After this, we're going to add our waistband onto our skirt. Yes, you have to have a waistband with your skirt. It did look good, right, when I had it on, but we definitely have to have a beginning and an end to our skirt. You can see that I've serged the inside of my skirt, so it's a nice clean finish. If you don't have a serger, that's okay. Just use a small zigzag stitch. Now, serge the bottom of my skirt to give it a nice clean finish when I'm doing my hem, and it'll make it a little easier too. So I'm just going to fold it up about 1/4 inch. Now, I'm eyeballing this because I know where I need my skirt to end, but if you don't, you can use a ruler or you can get your seam gauge out and use that just to make sure it's nice and even all the way around. Again, I'm just eyeballing it because I know exactly where I want my skirt to end. Then I'm going to go over to my machine and I'm going to sew this hem all the way down. I love the serger edge because, again, it helps with a nice clean finish when you're wearing your skirt. Okay, grab your material because we're going to make the waistband for our skirt. Now, if you have enough material and you can just make one long strip and put it around your waist, beautiful. But I didn't have that, so I'm using kind of scraps a little bit. Now, I'm going to use the material that I do have, and I know I want my waistband to be kind of thick. I don't want a really small one. So here's what you do. Grab your tape measure, put it around your waist. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Put it around your waist where you want your skirt to lay, and then get that measurement. Now, you can measure it out and see if you have enough material, because maybe you do. Now, of course, I didn't, so that means I'm going to have to make my waistband in 2 pieces, and that's all well and fine too. You can see I've gone ahead and cut it. Now, you want to make sure that you get the measurements of the size of the waistband that you want. I know I wanted mine to be like 3 or 4 inches, so I'm just counting it over. And I'm going to cut it out. You're going to see that I'm cutting it out so that I have 2 pieces that are going to fit my waistband perfectly. Then I'm going to cut it out with the width of the waistband that I want it to be. Now that you have the 2 pieces that you want, you're going to pin them down at the sides because we're going to be going over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew them down. Once I've sewn those 2 sides down, we're going to fold it under one more time and then we're going to attach it to the skirt. Stay tuned. Now that I'm back from my machine and I got my sides sewn down, let's get rid of these loose threads. Now, go ahead and grab your waistband, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it in half so that you have a right side on both ends. Now, also, this is what I like to do, just me personally. When you're attaching your waistband to anything, I like to take a pin and I like to pin both of my sides. And that way I know where my sides are, especially when you're self-drafting. You don't have a pattern to follow. So there's no markings on this. This is something you're just doing off the cuff. So go ahead and grab your pins and mark both of your sides. Now, go ahead and grab your skirt, and we're going to be doing these right sides facing. Now, I'm going to be putting the waistband inside of the skirt because I think it's easier for you to see. Now, I'm starting at the side. Now, I know the side is the leather piece, so that makes it a little easier. Go ahead and pin that down. Give it a good stretch and do it to the other side. That way you know that your sides are in the middle. If they're not, then make an adjustment as you see you need. Now this one I didn't need it. I stretched it out. It's fitting perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is grab the front, and I'm going to stick a pin in there as well. Now I know where the front and the back of my waistband should lay on my skirt. Go ahead and get your pin. Y'all know what that means. Pinning means we're about to be going to the sewing machine. And you want to make sure you're pinning through all of the layers of the waistband. You don't want to leave anything out when you're sewing. Now you can just add some additional pins like I'm doing here. I'm just adding some pins so when I go over my sewing machine and my serger, it doesn't move. Now I'm at the machine and you can see I'm sewing down my waistband to my skirt. Don't forget to remove those pins because you don't want to break your needle. I'm going straight across the top. And don't forget the hem at the bottom. Go ahead and, we already have it pinned down, so go ahead and sew across that. Guess what, y'all? We are done. Are you ready to show off what you just created? I know I am. As you can see, I paired my skirt and it looks beautiful, y'all. Look at this. I paired it with a nice blazer, some heels, and a clutch, and I am ready to go. You can wear this to church, to work. You can do whatever you want to do, but it is sexy chic. I love it. What do you think? Are you wondering how I'm going to pair the jacket? Well, here it is. I had these cute vegan leather little leggings, and I decided what way to add to this jacket but to add some little leggings. This is so cute, y'all. I love it. Add some booties to it, and you are ready to go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.